Hey everybody, thank you for joining us today for our daily Devo. My name is Pastor Benjamin, and today I want to talk about some of the things that we have going on right now. This time right now is a more difficult time for some of us than others. This crisis is affecting everybody a little bit differently, and for some of you, you might be struggling to find time with your spouse because maybe your spouse works in the medical field or some other field and they're super busy with work, and that's causing tension in your marriage or in your family, or maybe for some of you, you have a loved one or a friend who is sick right now. And so, and for some of you, maybe it's that you or a loved one has lost a job, and that can be really hard and really challenging. And one of the things that all of those areas have in common is stress. And so today I want to talk a little bit about stress and how we can deal with stress. There is a natural peace that comes into our lives when everything is going good, right? When all the stars are aligning, our finances are good, our marriage is good, our kids are good, everybody's happy and healthy, and everything's going well. We can experience a peace that is just a natural peace all around us because of our circumstances. But the Bible actually talks about a peace that is supernatural. And this peace is a peace that surpasses understanding. And we can find this peace in Philippians chapter 4, verse 7. So I want to read this with you. It says, "And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." So this peace, it's a peace that surpasses understanding. And so what that means is it's a peace that doesn't make sense. And when I was in college, there was a point at which I decided I wanted to go in the medical field. So I started taking all these science classes. And the class that was the most difficult for me was biology. No matter how hard I tried, and believe me, I tried really hard. I spent hours upon hours just studying, and no matter how hard I tried, I still failed my tests miserably because nothing I did helped it to make any sense. No matter how hard I tried, I could not understand it, and it did not make sense. And this peace that the Bible is talking about is a lot like that. We can sit around and try to understand it, but no matter how hard we try, it is never going to make sense. And this is the peace that we need in our lives every day. So how do I get that peace? Well, that's a great question, and I am so glad that you asked. Because this passage actually tells us how if we look at the verses right before it. So if we jump back to chapter 4, verse 4, it says this: "Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I say rejoice." But Pastor, I don't have much to rejoice about. Well, are you saved? Are you a child of God? Because if you are, then you have lots to rejoice about. If you're experiencing God's grace in your life, then you can rejoice for that, because God's mercies are new every morning. And even though we mess up day after day after receiving grace, we still have more of God's grace. And so we can rejoice in that alone if you don't have anything else to rejoice about. And if you're not a child of God and you'd like to know how you can become a part of the family, please message us, because we would love the opportunity to get to reach out to you and share with you how to become a part of the family of God. Now, this next verse says, "Let your reasonableness be known to everyone. The Lord is at hand. Do not be anxious about minor things, but in..." Wait a minute. I think I read that wrong. It says, "Do not be anxious about anything. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything." What is everything? Everything that causes you stress, everything that brings you anxiety, everything that causes you to feel overwhelmed. In everything, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. Some of the most difficult times I've ever experienced in my life are times when I was unbelievably stressed and overwhelmed and anxious about a personal crisis going on in my own life. And times when I reached a point of brokenness and hurt where I didn't know what else to do. And the only thing I could do was turn to God and get into His presence and spend time in prayer. And when I did that, then all of my anxiety, all of my stress began to just disappear in a way that didn't make sense. I was still in the middle of the storm. I was still dealing with the difficult circumstances, but yet I had a peace that surpassed understanding, a peace that did not make sense. And that's my prayer for you today. So my encouragement to you is that whatever you have going on, whatever's causing the stress or the overwhelm in your life, take it to God in prayer. And church, I'm not just talking about, Lord, take my stress, give me peace. No, I'm talking about pressing into his presence. I'm talking about spending time with him in a way that communicates that you're not looking for anything else but God's peace. And don't give up. Spend time in his, just press in until that overwhelming peace, that peace that surpasses understanding, begins to guard your mind and your heart in Christ Jesus. Church, I love you. God bless you. We'll see you again tomorrow.